Often I've wondered, what does it take for this to happen? And now I know it takes effort and grace, tremendous self-effort and amazing grace. And in my life, that grace has taken numerous forms. The first was the family into which I was born. Parents who loved and wanted me, and a mother who fought fearlessly, courageously, consistently, so that her children, above all else, could realize their full potential as human beings. Teachers who wanted to be teachers. Art, all my life. A brilliant play, a magnificent role, a producer with a vision, a producer with a heart, and a director who dares to see me as an artist capable of many things. I thank God for everything, every single thing. For my mother, for my sister, for my brothers, for my children, and for this. Thank you.
I am so excited. I cannot tell you. I had this dream list of people I wanted to talk to, and you at the top of that list. And Kai said, well, we can just email her. She might do it.
For you, you know I'm gonna do it for you. You know I'm gonna do it for you, Angela.
So congratulations on Jingle Jangle.
Hey, thank you. You know, this is something that my daughter expressed as a child. She wanted to know why is there not, and she described Jingle Jangle. Why do I not see, you know? And one day she looked at me and she said, you know, and I mean, she was young, Angela, you will appreciate this. She said, Mom, you know, everybody makes much of the red shoes. You know, that film, The Red Shoes, and people talk a lot about the red shoes. People make much of the red shoes, she said, but I have brown feet and I think they dance very well.
Having this pause from theater, 5 years from now, what does better look like for the theater in particular? What does better look like?
What does better look like? So it isn't that we haven't seen what better can look like, because we've seen it. We've seen glimpses of it. We just need to see more of it. Theater should look like people. It should look like the world. That's what it should look like. I am interested in many cultures. I'm interested in people. And I want to celebrate that. And I want to see that reflected in theater. So one of the things that was accomplished, another thing, was the radio recording of Richard II for public theater. Yes. We had a multi-ethnic international cast.
Wow.
Yeah. Somebody as far away as Australia. Yeah, we had that. We had that. And it looked like the world.
Yeah.
And we had that. And I felt so good about that, you know.
And I think everybody, well, the people who maybe hadn't done it before will be surprised about how much that's going to sell.
Well, you know, somebody asked me the other day, and this is a relative. I was being interviewed by him, and it was a standard off-the-shelf question. do you think that we, African Americans, we as a people are marketable? I had to do everything not to burst out laughing. We've been marketable since this country started.
Yes.
Okay, but I had to, because I understood the context, and I understood.
Yes.
So yeah. But you know what? We're not the only people who've been marketable. Coal miners in Pennsylvania and in West Virginia who don't look like you and me have been marketable. I mean, we
Right.
really need to start looking at the full picture here so we can get this human story straight.
So, Howard has been in the news a lot lately. Yeah. Howard and HBCUs. I'm an HBCU FAMU, so I get excited.
Yes. Yes. Yes, because one school can't do it all. That's what I say.
That's right. In your opinion, what makes an HBCU a different type of education than another school?
Oh my goodness.
I already know. I just want to hear what Phylicia Rashad said.
Well, it's a full and it is full. It is complete. Okay. Yes, there is that which takes place in the library and the classroom and in your dorm room with your books. There is that.
Yes.
But there is there's a whole other education that's taking place. And you don't have to fight to get it.
Oh.
Yes. You're not an outsider from the moment you get that letter saying you've been accepted. You are not an outsider. You are included. It is inclusive.
Yeah.
And, so one of the projects that I've been a part of most recently is Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me on HBO Max. Yes.
And I saw that in your bio. I was like, when did she do this?
I know. I told you. I mean, but I'm mentioning this because of the way he speaks of Howard University. Mm-hmm. Now, had he gone to Tuskegee, he would be speaking the same way. Had he gone to Florida A&M, he would be speaking the same way, because this is what happens on these campuses. Yeah. The intellect will be stimulated. There is no question about it. Some of the most remarkable professors are astute in every way. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You name an HBCU and you will find them on every single campus. They are there.
I agree. 100%. I agree. But your career has spanned theater, television, film, directing, animation, all of it. Did you set out when you went to Howard? Was that the dream for yourself to do it all? Were you intentional about doing it all, or did it just happen for you?
My mother, Vivian Ayers, the poet, I have to say that because she'll say to me, but you didn't say the poet. I said, okay, Mom. So my mother used to say to us all the time, whether it was a play that we were in, or whether it was a speech that we would give, or whether it was a football game and we were going to march on the field as majorettes, my mother would always say, make a splash. Make a splash.
Oh. Oh.
Make a splash. And she taught us in the way that she lived, not to create boundaries and obstacles for ourselves, thinking we could only do so much. The universe is infinite, and the possibilities within the universe are infinite, and the possibilities within each of us are also infinite.
Thank you for that. Are you enjoying directing?
Oh, yes. Ooh, yes. What do I like about it most? I love the collaboration. I love collaborating with the creative team, with the designers. That's where stuff starts, right up in there. Even before the first rehearsal,
Yeah.
we're taking a series of meetings long before we get into the room. I love casting. I just kind of do that intuitively, you know. I think it's something, it's some kind of sense I have because I'm an actor. Okay. I love that. I love being in the room. And what I really love is not knowing everything.
So you've embraced the fact that you don't know everything.
Yeah. And it's what I don't know that is most interesting to me.
Because you discover it as you go.
Yes. You know, I'll give you a for instance. All right. So I was asked to direct August Wilson's Ma Rainey's Black Bottom at the Mark Taper. All right.
Yes.
Now, I began reading the text. I had seen a production of the play, but I began reading the text, and I couldn't penetrate that text the way I had penetrated Gem of the Ocean, Fences, Joe Turner's Come and Gone. I couldn't penetrate, and I'm wondering why am I having such a hard time penetrating this text? And then I thought, oh, yeah. Because these actors have to be musicians. They have to play these instruments. So I was very fortunate to find these great actors who at some point in their lives had played an instrument or were somehow musical. Yeah. Keith David had never touched a bass in his life. He learned to play. Glenn Turner said, I've had a piano in my living room for 23 years. I've never touched it. He learned to play. Jason Dearden had played, Jason Durden, brother, had played trumpet as a younger junior high school student. He had to pick it up again. And Damon Gupton, now he's the most unusual one because he has an incredible career. Damon Gupton is actually a concert conductor. Oh, yes, ma'am. And he plays trombone and he played guitar. So there it was. So now they gotta play. So the theater is very supportive. They get them private teachers for each instrument, and they have classes. And they're you know. And the first time they played together, I thought, oh God, what did I do? This is disastrous. Oh, you know, but we kept going. Okay, so every day they would have rehearsal, and you know, and they started. So they were still in the scene, and I'm saying, well, something is. They're saying a lot, and they're all good actors. But something's missing. What am I missing? What am I not giving them? Well, girl, I was washing dishes at 7:00 in the morning, and it hit me.
What was it?
They have to behave like basketball players behave in the locker room. This scene is their locker room. They have to, it's behavior. And as soon as I said that to them, whoa, oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. And that was the key. It was like behavior.
Yeah.
It was, and you can't, as a director, I don't want to choreograph every moment,
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
think that what I like to do is hold a vision that allows room. Hold a vision that allows room. Galvanize all the creative energies to move in alignment with the vision, but leave room for them to contribute that which I had not considered. It's magic every time.
Hold a vision that allows room.
Absolutely. If you go into the rehearsal hall or you go onto the set or onto the stage and you know everything, that's what you're going to leave with. You're not going to discover anything new because you didn't leave room.
Mm.
And that's the joy, and that's really a great deal of the work. Is yes, being prepared, totally prepared by having studied and learned the text and reviewing it all the time. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Reviewing the notes from the director. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something else in every moment. There's that little spark. There's that fire that wants to ignite. It's there waiting for you. It wants to do it.
Oh, hold a vision that allows room. So most people say that you'll always be America's mom. And they are correct when they say that. But did you ever feel that you had to work at not being typecast? I remember one day you were so generous with me and you said, all you have to do is do other things. That
Right?
and it was really great advice because I did think about not wanting to be typecast, but coming up in the theater, I didn't worry about it because I was like, I know I can play different characters, so I just got to get somebody to let me. But in general, I can. But did you think about being typecast, and if so, like what actionable steps did you do to not be? Because you're not. I mean, especially with Grace, this last film you did with Tyler, but you're totally not typecast, but yet and still you're still America's mom. You've held on to both.
I didn't set about consciously to disavow anything. What I set about consciously to do was the work. Always do the work.
I have a two-part question.
Okay.
The first one is, what advice would you give to young dreamers starting out today? Just name a few things that they absolutely must have before embarking on a career in the arts.
Okay, one of the things that you must have is a real love for what you're doing. It must be a part of you. That must be your raison d'être. Okay? The next thing you must have is a thirst for learning. Because no matter what you know, there's so much more to learn and to know. Yes. Yes. And I mean different kinds of things. Then you must find your way to good instructors, whether it be in a classroom setting or a rehearsal hall or a conversation with a mentor, but you need that, a good guide, at least one. And remember this always, if you don't remember anything else, always keep good company. And let that good company begin with your own thinking.
Begin with your own what?
Thinking.
That's great advice. And so the second part of this question is, what advice would you give to seasoned professionals who have had some success, but after every success, they feel like they're back at ground zero, trying to start again? What advice would you give them, especially in this season, to keep going?
Yes, that feeling is not uncommon. You know, when the Cosby Show ended, I didn't work for a year.
Really?
Really.
Did you think you wouldn't work again?
Well, I didn't think about it like that. I couldn't allow myself to think about it like that. But I thought, there were films that people just refused to see me for. They didn't want to see me at all because they thought of me as Claire Huxtable and not as an actor. So after a year, I received a call from George Wolfe for Jelly's Last Jam.
Anita?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I performed that from the time that I joined the cast till it closed. Mm-hmm. And that was an amazing experience. That was a wonderful experience. And then I didn't work again for a whole year. And when I worked again, it was because this handsome young director had come up from Atlanta looking to cast the role of Angel in Pearl Clake's Blues for an Alabama Sky. And I went in to meet him, and he was so polite. He was just clean and polite, dressed so nicely with sneakers on his feet.
Kenny Leon.
Yeah. And he was so humble. He said, "Miss Rashad, I know that you don't know me, but you can call this person," and he named the people I could call. And I just looked at him and smiled and said, "I don't need to call anybody. I just need to speak to my daughter to get permission." Because the production was going to be at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta, and it meant that I would have to leave home and leave her, and I had never left her. She was always with me. There was a bassinet in my dressing room when she was a baby. I took her everywhere. When I was in Into the Woods during a hiatus from Cosby Show, she was there. She was at the studio with me all the time. In Jelly's Last Jam, she was in the dressing room playing jacks. Yeah, she was with me on the set of Polly and Polly Coming Home, that second film, Polly Coming Home, where Polly gets married, and Polly gets married at the end. There are two little children who are standing on a table, a little girl and a little boy. And the little girl sticks her face in the cake. And the little boy, those children were my daughter and my sister's son. So she was always with me and always a part of whatever I was doing. But this was during the school time, and now she was in third grade. And that's when school gets serious, and I couldn't take her with me. And she said, "Oh, Mommy, you have to go." You have to do it, mommy. You have to do it. Yes. She didn't understand what she was saying. And so we were apart for about 3.5 weeks, almost 4 weeks. And then she came. She came to Atlanta, and it was during a school break, and she was with me for about 2 weeks. And when she left, I thought I would never recover. I literally crumbled. I was just devastated, and I didn't want her to see me crying. As I watched her cry as she was driving away, I was miserable. I was just absolutely miserable.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. So Kenny Leon, you did Blues for an Alabama Sky.
And then Medea, Euripides' Medea. He said to me, Rashad, is there something that you wanted to do in theater that you haven't done? I said, yes. I want to do the Greeks. I want to do Medea. He said, all right. And he went back and he did it. He made his board come up with the money. And darling, I mean money. This set was like unbelievable, okay? I mean, it had water running through it, fresh water running through it, coming all down that turned to blood when she kills the children at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, it was serious. And it was great. And the way Kenny managed that theater, people in Atlanta felt it was their theater. So there were women, middle-aged women who had never been in a theater before, who were coming to the theater to see Claire Huxtable. Yes. Well, after a performance once, I heard these two women talking. And the lady said, there was no Claire Huxtable up there. And the other lady said, that lady was mad. And she didn't say one curse word. They loved it. I found my director, yes.
You know, that's how Crystal and I met, working with Kenny.
Is that right?
At the Alliance.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. You know what I just got from that, though? So many things. But one thing is, when people ask you if there's a role or something that you want to play, have figured it out. Because I've had somebody ask me and I was like, They moved on.
Yeah, tell them, don't be shy. Don't be shy.
So what's been one of your absolute lowest moments as an artist? And then how did you overcome it or come through it?
There were a couple.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so early in my career, I had not trained as a singer, but I was cast in this musical. Now, there were 3 jobs actually that came through at the same time, and I was selected for all 3. I could do the bus and truck of Jesus Christ Superstar, or I could do the Broadway production of Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death, or I could do this musical that was going to the Ford's Theater in Washington.
Back to DC.
Arms too short to box with God, right? All right, so I didn't know which one to choose, silly me. I called my mother. I said, Mama, there are these 3 jobs. And I told her what they were. She said, oh, you must choose the one that's going to the Ford's Theater. Lincoln was shot there, you know. So, okay, mommy. Okay, Bobby. Well, I hadn't trained as a singer and I was having to sing every day and didn't know how to use my voice properly as a singer. So I became hoarse very quickly. And at the end of the first week of rehearsal, I was told the beginning of the next week, oh, you don't have to come in today. And then I was told, oh, you don't have to come in today, the next day. Oh, well, we are replacing you. You have to understand, Angela, I had always been number one. And now I was being let go. I felt as if the earth had been snatched from beneath my feet. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't smell anything. I couldn't taste anything. I couldn't feel anything. I felt very, very empty. And my mother was very concerned. And she said, okay, well, you come home to Houston. You come home and you work in the gallery with me. My mother had begun an art gallery. And I said, no, mommy, I can't do that. I have to stay here. And I have to continue working. So I stayed. And it was a period where there wasn't very much of anything for me to do. And then, you know, a little thing came here and a little thing came there. So you have to keep working, right?
Mm-hmm.
The next time I had a very low point in my career was in The Wiz. I was the understudy to Glenda. And I was the understudy to Glenda. And when they decided to do the LA company, and Dee Dee Bridgewater, who played Glenda, was going to be part of the LA company, they didn't cast me as Glenda. They cast the second understudy as Glenda.
What?
I was having to learn something. Right?
Mm-hmm.
She was beautiful. She was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
She was wonderful as Glenda. And she was a good friend too. But that was a very low point, and I had to work through that. So shortly after that, I took a vacation and a little sabbatical from the production, and I went to Los Angeles. And while I was in LA, I was cast in an episode of a hit TV show, and that was nice. Earned enough money to stay for the month and play, and with my sister and my 3-year-old son at the time. So we did that, and right before I was to return, I went to see a chorus line. And as I sat there looking at this production, and I was the guest of a casting director who was trying to convince me to stay in Los Angeles, which looked very attractive, until I sat there and watched the chorus line. And I said, now I'm going back to my munchkin stool, because this is what I do for love. I'm going back. So I went back, and I was still the understudy to Glenda, but then I became a swing dancer because somebody said she couldn't do that. And I thought, oh, yes, I could. And I learned all those patterns in reverse, because the left side of the stage the one way, and I learned all those patterns in reverse. Yes, I could. And did.
And did it.
And did. Thank you very much. Now, this scenario was going to repeat itself years later in Dreamgirls, when I understudied Dina Jones. But this time, I had learned something. I had learned detachment.
Mm.
I had learned because now there I was, it was a summer, it was at the end of a summer, well, no, during the summer when these auditions were taking place. And I was cast in the chorus of Dreamgirls and designated to understudy Dina Jones. And I thought, oh God, why? Why? Because there was a soap opera that I had auditioned for, but that job didn't come through. It was the understudy thing that came through. And I said, why? Why, God, what? I was walking across, I was walking across 84th and Broadway when I got the answer. The answer was because this time you're going to do it the right way. And what did that mean? That meant I was going to work 10 out of 12 hours, 5 days a week, because they had understudy rehearsal on Tuesday, on Thursday, and Friday, along with the regular theater schedule. I was going to see my son, my 8-year-old son, in the morning when I sent him to school. The next time I would see him, he'd be asleep in his bed. Mm-hmm. That meant I was going to work like that, not earning $1 million, not earning $1,000, not earning a lot of money. And I was going to spend 2/3 of my take-home pay on babysitters' fees. But I was going to work like that and give myself completely to that work without any attachment to a result. I had no attachment to a result. So when the second understudy once again was cast, I gave my notice. And I gave my notice because my mother said, you have to give your notice. And I said, Mama, I don't have another job to go to. She said, that's right. And if you don't give your notice, you may never have another job to go to.
Yes, yes, Mama.
You know, so I was getting ready to go upstairs and they said, Michael Bennett wants to see you on stage now. I was walking up the steps and I stopped. I stopped and I closed my eyes and I prayed. I begged God to sit on my tongue so that everything I said would be the truth without anger or arrogance. And then I proceeded to go on up there and talk to him. He said, I understand you want to leave. I said, well, it's time for me to go. Girl, it felt like that scene. It's time for me to go. There comes a time when a woman's got to go. There comes a time when a girl's got to grow.
That's right. That's right.
Time for me to go.
Mama said I was special. Okay.
Right. He said, but I need you. I said, no, you don't. And I said, and it's really not a question of your need. I said, the truth of the matter is that I'm not an understudy. I'm a leading lady. And it is time for me to realize myself in my profession. I hadn't thought to say that to him. And he looked at me and he said, you're right. Good luck.
Wow. Detachment.
Detachment.
So how long? So what'd you do? What'd you do?
I left. Well, I left. I left, and I went on unemployment for the first time in my life. Well, actually, no. I left and I worked at the Negro Ensemble Company. Yeah, I worked there. And when that stretch of work ended, I was on unemployment. And you know how that goes. You have to go and you have to sign up every week. So if you have your time is designated for you to go to sign up, and your agent is calling you with an audition that is at that same time, you have to make a choice. And if you have an 8-year-old son, what choice will you make? Exactly.
Yeah.
So one day I was standing in that line and I thought about those choices. And I was standing in that line where people are not always very polite, not always courteous, where people act as if they're doing you a favor by giving you what you've invested in through your labor. And very spontaneously, I said to myself, I swear by the presence of God within me, this is my last day in this line. And the next day, I received a call. Remember that audition for the television thing, the soap opera I told you about that was at the same time of Dreamgirls? It was happening again. And I went in, and that morning of the audition, I said, you know me better than I know myself. Yes, I want this job. I need this job. But more than that, what I really want is to feel your presence in every moment of this day. Could I please have that? And that's what happened. And that's what happened. Feeling that presence. Just feeling that presence while sitting in the makeup chair. Feeling that presence as my mind wanted to look at the other actor who was there to audition for the same role and say, oh, her clothes are so pretty. Oh, look at her hair. You don't look like that. Still feeling that presence in the midst of that. Feeling that presence as I was walking into the studio to record the audition. Feeling that presence during the audition. Feeling that presence when I left the studio and heard this scream, a loud scream, and I looked up and the producer was coming out of the booth yelling and screaming, that's it, you've got the job, it's yours. Feeling that presence as I stood there when she walked away and touched my own heart and said, here lie the riches. Here is the treasure. Nobody gave it to me, and nobody can ever take it away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything that was happening was part of the moment. This is the point. Feeling that presence. We talk about omnipresence, and yet we don't give ourselves room and permission to really experience it in the people we see, in the words we say, in the exchanges that we have, in a leaf blowing down the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to Instagram.
Thank you, ma'am. Having fun.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I am, because you know, yeah, I'm having fun. You know me, I'm gonna have fun. If I don't have fun, I'm not gonna do it.
Yes. So, so this question comes out of your new, your Instagram experience, because Instagram can be very, you know, about beauty and looks and beautiful pictures and image. So this question is, what do you think is most important, the cute or the craft?
I think what's important is the craft in the cute and the cute in the craft. That's what I think.
And my last question to you is, with it all, through the letdowns, through the highs and the lows, the peaks and the valleys, who did you most want to make proud?
Mm. I wanted my father to be proud of me. And he was.
It was.
And he was. Yes, he was. And he watched me go through the highs and the lows. And he was. He passed away during the time that I was in soap opera. So there are a lot of things that he didn't see, but he felt them. And he was very proud because he always believed in me. I'm very, very fortunate to have had parents who loved me and wanted me and who gave everything they could to see that I was developed as a person and as an artist. I am very, very fortunate. And it meant a lot to me to make them proud.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
People see you and, you know, they see Phylicia. But what they see, when you said what you see is what you get, what they see is definitely the truth.
Oh.
The truth. You've always been nothing but gracious, classy, filled with wisdom, and willing to share it. And I love you, and I appreciate you taking this time.
Angela, thank you for inviting me. I'm so glad that you're doing this. You're always giving something positive and true, even when you're being a villainous. I loved you being a villainous.
Pray for me. Pray for me. I really did. I do have a blast doing that. But yeah, your advice really helped me in that you just do something. Make sure you keep doing other things.
Yeah, you hear it, you feel it, they need it. Yeah, you write it, you sing it, you feel it. Yeah, you're different and here for a reason. It's hard and spirit. It's hard and